Imagine waking up on a quiet Sunday morning in the Arizona sun, coffee in hand, only to find two police officers on your porch, and the neighborhood HOA president grinning like the cat that ate the canary. She claimed you threatened her life at a meeting you weren't even at. Oh, and she threw in a gun for good measure. This, my friends, is what happens when a power-hungry HOA Karen picks a fight with the wrong retiree. Thomas Harlan had moved to Vista Ridge Estates 8 months earlier looking for the peace he'd earned after 35 years on the federal bench. The planned community in the Phoenix suburbs promised manicured desert landscapes, wide streets, and that coveted community standards vibe. What it delivered was a velvet dictatorship run by Lori Beaumont, self-appointed queen of the HOA for 7 glorious years. Lori didn't just enforce the rules, she worshipped them like holy scripture, quoting section and subsection, while her husband's property management company conveniently handled all the vendor contracts. It started innocently enough. Thomas's first violation notice arrived 3 weeks after he unpacked. His front yard saguaro cactus was allegedly not in the approved desert palette. 2 shades too green, apparently. He chuckled, sent photos and the actual CC and RS highlighting the acceptable range, and thought that was that. 2 weeks later, a $100 fine appeared in his mailbox. Then came the complaints about his trash cans being visible for 12 minutes past pickup time, his mailbox flag orientation, and the height of his privacy hedges measured with what must have been laser precision by someone with way too much time and spite. Lori ran the monthly meetings like a North Korean parade. Motions passed in seconds because no one dared object. Questions about the sudden 35% fee hike for infrastructure that no one could see were met with tight smiles and vague promises. Thomas attended one, sat in the back, and observed. Lori's eyes locked on him across the room like a hawk spotting a rabbit. He'd been marked. Then came that Sunday, 7:15 a.m. The doorbell cut through the desert quiet like a siren. Thomas opened the door to find officers Ramirez and Klein, body cams rolling, with Lori beaming behind them on his walkway, arms crossed in victory. "Mr. Harlan," the older officer started, "we received a report of harassment and threats directed at HOA board members. The complainant says you made violent statements at last Thursday's meeting, including threats with a firearm." Thomas didn't blink. Decades in courtrooms had taught him the power of calm. Behind the officers, Lori nodded vigorously. "He said he'd make me regret it. I fear for my safety, officers. This man is unstable." Officer Ramirez, the younger one, suddenly froze. His face went pale as recognition hit. 5 years earlier, he'd testified in Judge Harlan's courtroom in a civil rights case. Harlan had ruled against excessive force and emphasized accountability. Ramirez had personally thanked him afterward. Thomas slowly pulled out his phone. "Interesting. Last Thursday I was in Denver at a judicial conference. Here's my boarding pass, hotel confirmation, and signed attendance sheet. Landed back Friday afternoon. Care to verify?" The silence was delicious. Lori's triumphant smirk dissolved into confusion, then dawning horror as the officers examined the proof. That's not possible," she sputtered. "People saw him there." "Which people?" Thomas asked mildly, his voice carrying the quiet authority of a man who'd sentenced mob bosses. Lori fumbled, unable to name a single witness. The officers backed off quickly. "We'll verify this, ma'am. Sorry for the disturbance, Judge." They left Lori standing there, her kingdom suddenly looking a lot shakier. But Lori wasn't done. Far from it. Within days, the neighborhood Facebook group exploded with a safety alert post featuring Thomas's photo from the meeting, warning of a dangerous individual who'd threatened volunteers. Comments poured in. "Thank God you're watching out for us, Lori." His neighbors started avoiding eye contact. Someone spray-painted "Go away" on his garage door overnight. The petty fines multiplied like rabbits. Thomas didn't rage. He documented. Every notice, every photo, every anonymous note slipped under his door from scared residents. One note included suspicious invoices, payments to shell companies like Desert Elite Maintenance and Vista Solutions Group for improvements that satellite images proved never happened. All signed off by Lori. All paid to accounts linked to her husband's firm. Using his legal expertise, he filed formal records requests under Arizona law, citing exact statutes for financial transparency. Deadlines came and went. When Lori's lawyer called with excuses, Thomas added copies to the state attorney general. Meanwhile, he obtained the body cam footage via public records. There it was crystal clear. Before Thomas even opened his door, Lori had told the cops he threatened me with a gun at the meeting. Fabricated. Felony territory. The tension built like a desert storm. Thomas stayed silent publicly, letting Lori think she was winning. She doubled down, calling an emergency safety meeting to address the threat in our midst. That night, the clubhouse was packed. Lori stood at the front, microphone in hand, painting Thomas as public enemy number one. We must protect our property values and our families from agitators. Then the question started. A brave resident asked, "Wasn't that meeting the one where this man wasn't even in Arizona?" Murmurs grew. Someone mentioned the body cam. Another dropped that Thomas was a retired federal judge known for dismantling corruption. The room turned. Lori's face went white as the gun lie was quoted verbatim from the footage. "You told police he had a weapon? When he has proof he was gone." The crowd erupted. Board members started resigning on the spot, chairs scraping as they distanced themselves. Lori's empire, built on fear and selective enforcement, crumbled in real time. Her husband's shady deals were next. Anonymous tips had already reached investigators. In the following weeks, the hammer fell. Lori faced felony charges for the false police report, especially damning with the fabricated gun threat that could have escalated dangerously. Federal probes launched into the embezzlement scheme funneling HOA funds through shells to family pockets. The community petitioned for a full audit and new bylaws with term limits. At her sentencing, Lori looked broken, the once mighty ruler reduced to a defendant in a rumpled suit. Thomas stood to speak as victim. He could have pushed for the maximum, and no one would blame him. But looking at the woman who'd tried to destroy his peace, he chose differently. "Your Honor, what Lori did was wrong. She abused power, weaponized fear, and nearly turned neighbors against each other. But justice isn't about revenge. It's about restoration. I recommend probation, community service, and a ban from any leadership roles." The judge agreed. Lori got 3 years probation, 250 hours picking up trash in the very community she'd terrorized, and a permanent stain on her record. Her house sold quickly. The new HOA board, led by whistleblowers, implemented real transparency. Thomas still sits on his porch some evenings, watching the desert sun set over Vista Ridge, now a little freer. The rules are still there, but without the tyrant enforcing them like a personal fiefdom. True or false? The biggest abuser of power was the resident who fought back, or the Karen who hid behind community standards while lining her pockets. In the end, who really got the karma they deserved? Drop your thoughts below. Did mercy go too far, or was it the ultimate power move?